7 News starts now, live with breaking news.
Glad you're with us for this half hour. We have breaking news in Colleton County where Alec Murdaugh, the one-time lawyer, now a convicted murderer, is headed to prison for life.
So many eyes been watching this trial, and the judge gave Murdaugh 2 life sentences with no possibility for parole less than 24 hours after he was convicted of murder in the shooting deaths of his wife and son. The Colleton County jury deliberated for less than 3 hours after the 6-week trial. They concluded Murdaugh shot his 22-year-old son Paul with a shotgun and his 52-year-old wife Maggie with an assault rifle on June 7th of 2021. At his sentencing this morning, Murdaugh again claimed that he was innocent.
I respect this court, but I'm innocent. I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my wife Maggie, and I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my son Paul.
Well, and it might not have been you. It might have been the monster you become when you take 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 opioid pills.
Murdaugh immediately taken to the State Department of Corrections intake facility, where he will be assigned to a maximum security prison for the state's most violent offenders.
In a rare appearance, the head of the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division warned that his agency will continue to work to bring anyone connected to Murdaugh's crimes to justice. He also praised his team at SLED despite all the criticism the defense lobbed at that agency in court.
It is impossible for most people to understand the countless hours of hard work that went into this case. Time away from families, missed birthdays, missed holidays, and it is all done under constant scrutiny, constant pressure. I want these folks standing behind me and around me to know how incredibly proud I am.
Our Jason Raven is joining us live. He is in Walterboro with more on the sentencing that went down today.
And Jason, we had mentioned that Murdaugh was still claiming that he was innocent in the courtroom today. Tell us more about what he had to say.
Amy and Diane, this is pretty much what he's been saying since the beginning. He's been claiming his innocence. He maintained that innocence in court today, saying that he did not kill his wife Maggie and son Paul. Now I want to show you some video of Murdaugh walking into the courthouse earlier. Here he is in the jail jumpsuit and handcuffs coming into a courthouse him and his family are very familiar with over the years. They prosecuted many cases in here as well. Murdaugh's family did not speak during the sentencing hearing. Usually sometimes you hear from the victims of a crime. His family chose not to speak according to the prosecution. Now, Judge Clifton Newman called this case one of the most troubling cases he's been a part of. He had a blistering speech for Murdaugh. He talked about Murdaugh's family history and how many times they have been in this courthouse to prosecute cases, and now Murdaugh on his way to state prison.
And I know you have to see Paul and Maggie during the night times when you're attempting to go to sleep. I'm sure they come and visit you. I'm sure.
And Murdaugh's defense, they say they will appeal this decision from the jury. Attorney Dick Harpootlian says they'll file that notice for appeal within the next 10 days.
You know, Jason, the judge, like you said, had a very blistering conversation, in fact, with Alec Murdaugh, which was interesting. Let's talk about the way he worked opioids into the conversation, in fact, calling Alec Murdaugh a monster when he took opioids.
Yeah, absolutely right, Amy. Murdaugh, when he took the stand earlier in this trial, blamed some of his lies on his opioid addiction. He mentioned that he was taking anywhere from 20 to, if I'm not mistaken, 60 pills a day. And Judge Newman tied that in to his speech to Murdaugh before the sentencing, mentioning that maybe it wasn't Murdaugh who did this, but it could have been Murdaugh under the influence of these pills, like you said, calling him a monster, while under the influence of opioids.
Jason Raven, we appreciate your live reporting. You have been with us day after day, bringing us the latest developments. We appreciate it.
And of course, the story of death and destruction surrounding Alec Murdaugh is so long and convoluted, it can really be hard to keep straight. So let's lay it all out right now, starting with the first death still under investigation from nearly 8 years ago. 7 News anchor Gordon Dill takes us through the timeline.
The first death came in 2015. A young man found dead along a Hampton County road. Case was first investigated by Highway Patrol, but has since been reopened by state agents, as was another death less than 3 years later, February 2018, when the family housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield, died on the Murdaugh property. Her death was ruled an accident. Murdaugh has now admitted stealing the multi-million-dollar settlement. 1 year later, in February 2019, a tragic boating accident killed a young woman named Mallory Beach. That son, Paul Murdaugh, was facing related charges until 2 years later, June 2021, when he and his mother were found shot to death. The two were found by Alec Murdaugh, who now admits he lied to investigators about where he was in the moments before their deaths. In September that same year, Murdaugh again called 911, this time to say he had been shot in the head, which he again now admits was part of a scheme to lie and defraud, to fake his own assassination, a murder for hire, to pass insurance money to his one surviving son. Less than 2 weeks later, state agents launched the investigation into stolen money from Murdaugh's law firm. Last July, Murdaugh was charged with killing his wife and son, and after 6 weeks of trial and only 3 hours of jury deliberation, he was convicted. 24 hours later, he's sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison.
Now you can go back and review all of our coverage of the Murdaugh mysteries from the first story through the conviction in a special section of our website, WSPA.com.